Hello everyone, my name is Arya and this is the Wampler Paisley Drive version 1 and I for some reason thought that I should do an inside out review the way it's built and those aspects of it. There are hundreds of videos online where we can hear how this pedal sounds and all of that. But then this was primarily focusing on how it's built. I wanted to start with this pedal, but then there are a lot of other pedals that I have which I would do similar videos of, which would be inside out, checking out how it's built. These pedals are easily repairable, what could be the issues, because we only look at sound but we don't look at how these are possibly built. So definitely I'm no one to really judge, but this is purely my opinion and something that I have gained over the last few years of building FX pedals, definitely not at a large scale that these companies like Wampler or Keeley or any of the other big ones do. So I've built several pedals in the past and I've done a lot of repairs and I've also made a lot of custom pedals, and as I said, not on a very large scale, so I think my opinion might matter a bit. Now coming to the Paisley Drive, it's a fantastic sounding pedal. I have done a demo and I will be posting it on YouTube along with this video. Hope you will be able to check that out as well. So now starting with this pedal, initially if you look at it, the paint work and all of that is fantastic. The build quality is amazing. It's a large enclosure, as you can see. It's a 125B size enclosure, which is slightly larger than an MXR type pedal, just slightly larger than it. So this is not an MXR pedal, this is just for reference. Yeah. And now looking at the jacks, input and output jacks, these are solid metal, unlike some where they use the plastic ones, and it's quite difficult to replace, and those are also mounted on the PCB, but then these are not mounted on the PCB, the input and output jacks. Now the point to note is, on this one I really like that the orientation of these input and output jacks is on the sides instead of on top over here, which is something that I had trouble with. I had the Wampler Velvet Fuzz, and the in and out jacks were on top over here on the sides, and I struggled to use pancake connectors along with the DC jack because they're quite wide and the spacing between these jacks was not a lot. So it would put, so eventually what happened is it used to put a lot of pressure on the DC jack over here, and I was worried because it was PCB mounted, the DC jack on the Wampler Velvet Fuzz, and I thought it might eventually break the jack and or maybe crack the PCB inside, which is tough to repair and all of that. So I was forced to use low profile jacks for that, only for that pedal, while all my other pedals use the pancake type connectors, which I really love. Now coming to the knobs, volume, gain, tone, and these switches, the toggle switches are very nice. They don't sound flimsy, so it's like a firm assurance that it's all in place, whereas some of the other ones, so this one especially, it's a three-way switch. Some of the low quality three-way switches are like, if you just touch them it would come right into the center position, but this one doesn't do that, so that's another good thing. So this is built to last, of course. And now coming to the 3P DT switch, the foot switches have issues with mechanical stress. So since we keep tapping, stomping on these foot switches day in and out, that actually leads to these wearing out and also eventually damaging the pedals, since most pedals are held by the input and output jacks, the knobs, and this switch. But in this pedal that's not the case. So let's look inside right now. Okay, before we do that, that's the DC jack. Again, nice solid jack, no need to be worried about breaking the PCB due to stress or anything, because it's not PCB mounted. So let's look inside now. There we go, the beautiful guts of this pedal. So as you can see, the input and output jacks are independent, not mounted on the PCB, and you can see that the 3PDT is also not mounted on the PCB, I mean the main board, right? So it's all independent. Only the potentiometers in the front and the switches are mounted on the PCB, which is fine because you wouldn't expect a lot of mechanical stress on those pieces, whereas the input and output jacks and the 3PDT switch actually see a lot of mechanical stress. And what I love about it is the very clean approach. So this is a JRD 4580 chip for the drive, and I really like the way the design is. Of course, I'm no one to judge, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to put across my opinion. Now what I also like is that they have used through hole components and not SMD. So SMD components are something like this. So as you can see, that if there's any problem with any of these SMD components, you would require a heat gun to remove the faulty component and make changes, and even to modify it's quite tough, right? And I have never been a fan of SMD, although SMD is something that is eventually going to be in all of the pedals that we are going to see in the future, possibly, because as you can see, there are tiny components. I mean, as compared to the regular components that we see on the Paisley drive on the left here, there's a lot of space. You can cram lots and lots of components when compared to the through hole components that you see on the left. So this being a delay pedal by Maleco, it's a digital unit, digital delay, and it has to have what it has to have to really perform well. And I don't deny all of that, but all I'm saying is in my personal opinion, I've had a hard time repairing any of this stuff, because you cannot do it with a regular soldering iron, and these are multi layers, which means again you cannot repair them if you do not have the schematics or if you don't know what is going on inside these pedals. Whereas when we come to this one, it's easily traceable. Smaller issues, minor issues can be easily fixed by yourself. And as you can see that the DC jack is mounted on top here, with wires and all of that. It's easy to fix. As you can see, the DC jack is all mounted and can be easily fixed. All you need to do is remove the knobs and the ports and all of that, and these switches, and off comes the PCB, and you can trace the issue and all of that. So that's it really, because it's simple to fix, which is one of the most important things. So if I'm spending $250, $300 on a pedal, I might as well look for a pedal that I can fix or get fixed easily, and something that I can mod too, because I'm a freak. I mod my pedals a lot. And the enclosure, as I mentioned, is nice and solid. It has a lot of depth, which means it would sit a little higher than all your other pedals. It would have been great if we had this same pedal in a smaller form factor. I would have saved a bit of space on the pedal board, but then that's all right. It sounds fantastic. There's no doubt about that. So if you like this video, please let me know if you want me to continue doing such videos in the future. I hope you found it useful. Thank you.